Welcome to today's English session of Gnana Deeksha. I am Blessy Hepzibah, PGT in English. Today, you are going to learn about heart. Are you surprised? You are going to learn about a topic which is considered as the heart of English language. Now, before we get into the topic, let me ask you a question. Do you like animals? Yes, obviously most of us like animals, right? Yes, even my daughter likes animals. So, I bought a book for her. That book has many pictures of animals. Just have a look at this book. This is Eric Carle's Head to Toe. This book not just has the pictures of animals, but in this book, the animals throw a challenge for all the young learners. Whether the children are able to copy the antics performed by the animals while playing. So, it's just like a frolicking fun adventure. So, here it goes. Now, what do you see here? You see a giraffe, right? And what is the giraffe doing? It is bending its neck. So, even the boy is also copying the antic of giraffe. He is also bending his neck. Next, what do you see here? You see a buffalo, right? And the buffalo is raising its shoulders. You can see the girl also raising her shoulders. Oh, here you see a gorilla. The gorilla is thumping its chest, right? Even the boy is also thumping his chest. You might have observed in the movie King Kong how the gorilla thumps its chest. Here you see a cat. What is a cat doing? It's in the form, in the shape of U. And the cat arches its back. Even the girl is also doing the same thing. Now here is an alligator. What is the alligator doing? It is wriggling its hips, and even the boy is also wriggling his hips. Here you see a camel, right? What is a camel doing? The camel is bending its knees, and even the girl is also bending her knees. Now, what is a donkey doing here? The donkey is kicking its legs, and even the boy is also, you can see the boy kicking his legs. And finally, you see an elephant here. The elephant says that I stomp my foot, and even the girl is also stamping her foot. Okay. So, if you observe few sentences. Let me write the sentences. Yes, I kick my legs. I raise my shoulders. I bend my neck. So, let's look at the slide. Here you see few words are highlighted. Here, the giraffe says, I bend my neck. And the buffalo says, I raise my shoulders. And the donkey says, I kick my legs. So, if you just observe the words kick, raise, bend, now what are they? These are the actions performed by the animals. So, any word which indicates an action is called as verb. You have already observed it, you have already learnt it in parts of speech session, right? So, apart from the action words, there are other words also which are called as verbs. Let's look at the slide. A word that indicates an action or a state of being is called a verb. Now, what is state of being? For example, now that you are staying home, you might be very happy spending time with your parents. So, let me write the same example. Yes, the children are happy. 'Happy' is the verb. 'Happy' is the adjective. 'Staying' is the adjective. 'Staying' is the adjective. 'Happy' 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 is the adjective. 'St at home. So if you just observe the word are, here are is a verb and it is telling about the state of being of the subject. So you call the word are as verb. So any word that indicates an action or a state of being is called a verb. If you look at the slide, you see the example, she studies every day. In the sentence, the word studies tells about the action performed by the subject. So studies is an action word which is called as verb. You can see many actions in the pictures. You can see a girl is sitting, you can see a boy is washing, a girl is eating, the boy is going to school, a boy is playing, a girl is playing, a girl is studying, a girl is painting, and a child is sleeping. So all these are the words that indicate an action and they are called verbs. If you see the next two examples, I am a student, you are a teacher. So in these two examples, the words am and are suggest, they indicate a state of being. So they are also called as verbs. So many a times, children, you might be assuming that only action words are called verbs. No, we have something more, something beyond that. Other words are also called, other words which indicate state of being are also called verbs. Yes. Since the time we wake up in the morning until we sleep in the night, we perform many actions. So all those actions are called verbs. For example, you know what my son does? My son comes home from school, removes his uniform, plays with his little sister, has snacks, does his homework, turns on the TV, watches a cartoon. So here you observe all the words which are highlighted in yellow: comes, removes, plays, has, does, turns and watches. All these are called as verbs. Okay. Next we have two friends. Here we have two friends talking to each other. Let us see what is the conversation between them and who are the friends. Yes. You can see two friends, that is main verb and helping verb. The main verb is asking helping verb. Let's look at the dialogue. Can you help me and come wherever I go? So the helping verb answers, but you are independent. You don't need me. Don't say like that. Many a times I need your help. Okay, sure, I will help you. Now, did you understand the conversation? You see, the main verb is asking his friend, helping verb, to come along with him wherever he goes. But the helping verb says that, no, you don't need my help. You stand by yourself. You're independent. Then main verb says, no, only few times I can be independent, but many a times I need your help. So finally, helping verb agrees to the wish of the main verb. Now, what did you understand from this? Yes, you might have guessed it right. That verbs can be broadly divided into two. Look at the slide. Main verbs and helping verbs. So, helping verbs are also called as auxiliaries. Now, what is the meaning of auxiliary? Auxiliary means help or support. So, verbs can be divided into two: main verbs and auxiliaries or helping verbs. Now, till now, what all actions we have seen and what all actions we perform in our day-to-day life, all those are called as main verbs. Eat, write, play, sleep, etc. All those come under main verbs. Now, let us write a sentence without the help of any other verb. He drinks coffee every day. Here you see the verb drinks and we don't have any other helping verb. So, from this we can understand that main verbs are independent or they stand by themselves only in the simple present tense. You might have already learnt in the tenses session. He drinks coffee every day are regular activities or habits we use it in simple present tense, and here the verb drinks is called as the main verb. Now, what are auxiliaries or helping verbs? Here I gave few examples: is, are, has, had, was, will, can, may, etc. These are only few examples which I gave, but you have many helping verbs. Now let us see how many helping verbs we have and what are they and how do we use them. Yes, here you see examples of main verb and auxiliary verb. We have already seen that main verb is an action word and auxiliary verb helps the main verb. Here I wrote an example of a verb without an auxiliary verb. Then here in the examples, look at the slide. He has done the work. Here you see one word is circled and the other one is underlined. So the circled one is auxiliary verb and the underlined one is the main verb. The teacher is teaching the lesson. Here you see is a helping verb or auxiliary verb and teaching is the main verb. The boy was playing yesterday. Was is an auxiliary verb and playing is the main verb. Okay. Next, let us look at the auxiliaries or helping verbs. Helping verbs are further divided into two. They are primary verbs and modal verbs. Now, what are primary verbs? Primary verbs give extra information to a sentence. It go along with the main verb and they give extra information. For example, they tell in which tense a sentence is. So primary verbs are in three forms: be forms, have forms and do forms. Be forms are am, is, are, was and were. When we use these verbs in a sentence, it tells us about the tense of a particular sentence. So these are the be form of the verbs. Generally we use am, is, are in the present tense and was and were in the past tense. Next we have forms. Have forms of the verbs are have, has and had. Have and has are used in the present tense and had is used in the past tense. Next form of primary verbs are do forms. Do and does, we use it in the present tense and did is used in the past tense. Now another division of helping verbs are modal verbs. What are modal verbs? Modal verbs indicate a modality. That is, modality in the sense they express an idea like permission, a suggestion, obligation, offer, etc. So modal verbs are also very important because based on a modal verb we can tell the function of a sentence. Each modal verb indicates a specific function. Okay. Let's look at the next slide. We have primary verbs here and let us see the usage of primary verbs. How do we use the primary verbs? Can we use them as we wish? No. We need to remember a few things when we use primary verbs and they are very important even in our spoken English. So let us see. First column we see the be form of the verbs and the be form of the verb which is used along with the subject, first person subject I is am. We use the be form am only for the subject I. For example, if I say I am going to the market. So here we are using am beside the subject I. Next, what are the be forms that we use along with the second person you? We use are and were. For example, if I have to use the be form of the verb along with you, then I'll say you are going to the zoo. Then if I want to say it in the past tense, you were going to the school. Next. So be form, next be forms which we use along with the third person, he or she or it, is and then was. Now we see that he or she or it is singular. So we use the singular be form, that is or if it is in the past tense, was. We can't say she are or he are. I just need to say it is looking good. Suppose we refer to an object. It was looking good, or she is coming to school. Okay. Next be forms used along with the plurals we and they. We is the plural form of the first person and they is the plural form of the third person. So we use the be forms are and were. Okay. Next, have forms of the verbs. Along with the subject I, we use have and then had. Though have is always used along with a plural subject, but still we use it for I because I goes along with the plurals. For example, I have just finished the work. I have just finished the work. You can just see. Here we are using the have form have along with the subject I because always I is considered as a plural. It goes along with the plural subject. Suppose if we want to use the have form of the verb in the past tense, then we say I had finished the work yesterday. Next have forms used along with the second person you. You have done the work. You had done the work yesterday. Okay, in the past tense we use had and in the present tense we use have along with the second person you. Next, what are the have forms that we use along with the third person? Has and then had. He has gone to Delhi. We can't say he have because have is always used with a plural subject. We just need to say he has or she has or it has. Next, the have forms which are used along with the plurals we and they are have and had. We have gone to zoo. Otherwise, if we want to use the sentence in past tense, then we need to use the verb had. We had gone to school yesterday. So, here you observe one thing, that is, had is used in the past tense whether it is a singular subject or a plural subject. So, have is common for all the first person, second person and third person, and also it is used for either singular or for plural. Next do form of verbs. For I we use do and then did. For example, I do my work regularly. I did my work on time. We cannot say I does. Most of the times few people make a mistake. Does should not be used along with I. Next, do forms which are used along with you are do and then did. You do your work neatly. You did your work in time. Next, along with he, she and it, we use does and then did. She does the work perfectly. He did his project yesterday. Okay. Next, what are the do forms which we use along with we and they? Do and then did. We do our work together. We did our work in the morning. Okay. So, this is the usage of primary verbs. So, when we use the verbs, primary verbs, we need to remember few things. That is, whether we are using the verbs along with the first person, second person or the third person. This is more important. And whether the verb is in present tense or past tense, according to the tense, we need to use the be and have and then do form of the verbs. And then whether it is a singular or a plural subject. So, if we put these things in our mind, then definitely we can use the primary verbs correctly and definitely we can speak very good English without any mistakes. Okay. Next, let us look at the another division of helping verbs, that is modal verbs. Let's look at the slide. We have already seen that each modal verb indicates a specific purpose. For example, the concert will begin soon. In this example, if you see that will indicates certainty, that is, it indicates that a certain action is going to happen, certainly. Okay. Next, you shall follow the rules. In this example, if you just observe the word shall, it indicates compulsion. Sometimes shall is used for offer also. For example, shall we go for a walk? In such cases, shall indicates an offer or a proposal. Next, they can lift the heavy rocks. Here, can indicates ability of a person. We can say she can sing well. She can write well. So here also can indicates ability. Most of the times we see that can indicates the ability of a person. You should work hard. Here, should indicates a suggestion or an advice. For example, many a times we keep giving advices to others. You should take your medicines regularly. Okay, so here the modal verb should indicates a suggestion. You must conserve water. Here must indicates a compulsion or an obligation. That is, when we want a certain action to happen compulsorily, then we use the modal verb must. It may rain tonight. Here the verb may, it tells about the probability or a possibility of an action. She may come the next week. So when we expect something to happen, when there is a possibility of an action to happen, we use the modal verb may. Next you see might. He might not come. When we want to express least possibility, less possibility, then we use might. So might has less possibility than may. In certain cases we use might. Then need to. We have the modal verb need to also. We use it for a necessity. Okay. Next. So far we have seen about the division of helping verbs and how do we use primary verbs and modal verbs, and what are the various functions of each and every modal verb. Now, let us look at the main verbs. Main verbs are in three forms, that is V1, V2, V3. Now, what is V1 and what is V2? What is V3? V1 is the present tense, V2 past, and V3 is the past participle. V1 is present, V2 is past, and V3 is past participle. So, if we look at the examples in the slide, you see beat, bet, beaten. So, here you observe the word bet in the past tense. It is B-E-A-T again. So, some of the children make a mistake writing bet as B-E-T. B-E-T is different from the past tense of beat. Okay, bet, B-E-T, bet, we use it for a challenge. Many a times you have bet with your friends. So here this is different. The past tense of beat is bet, which is the same spelling, and then beaten. So in this verb forms, if you observe, for few words all the three verb forms, that is V1, V2 and V3 are the same. For example, cut, cut, cut. Cost, cost, cost. For few verbs, you see that V2 and V3 are the same. Keep, kept, kept. And for few words, you see V1 and V3 are the same, like become, became and become. So, when we write the verb in V2 and V3 forms, they are different. So, based on the verb forms, we divide verbs into regular and irregular. Now, what are regular verbs? When we write the verb in past tense and past participle form, we follow a regular pattern, a fixed pattern. Like we add D to few words and we add ed to few words, and we add ied to few words. So this is the regular pattern of changing the verb from present to past and past participle form. So for example, you see like, liked, liked. We just added the letter D. And sometimes we add the suffix ed, walk, walked, walked. And sometimes we add, for the words which end with y, we add ied, cry, cried, cried. Study, studied, studied. Worry, worried, worried. So when we follow this regular pattern of adding the suffix d or ed or ied in the past form and past participle form, then those verbs are called as regular verbs. Now what are irregular verbs then? Irregular verbs are the verbs which are not regular, right? Okay, first let us see the examples of regular verbs, then we'll move on to the irregular verbs. I like ice creams. Yes, most of you like ice creams, but it is not advisable to eat now. I really liked the movie. I have liked the movie. Here you just observe the V1, V2 and V3 of the verb. Like, liked, liked. We just added D in the past form and the past participle form. I walk every day. I walked to the market in the morning. I have walked very far. Walk, walked, walked. We added the suffix ed. I cry when I feel sad. She cried because her mother scolded her. She has cried many times. So cry, cried and then has cried. So we added the suffix ied. So this is the regular pattern of writing the verb in the past form and the past participle form. So that is the reason they are called as regular verbs. Let's have a look at the next slide, that is irregular verbs. So as I told you already, irregular verbs do not follow any fixed pattern. The verbs that do not follow the regular pattern in the past form and past participle form, that is by adding d or ed or ied. We don't add that for the irregular verbs. So how then, how are they written in the past form and past participle form? You can see the examples. Cut, cut, cut. You can see all the three forms are the same. Most of the times cut, cutted we say, but it's wrong. Okay, we don't add ed or ied to the irregular verbs. So cost, cost, cost. Hurt, hurt, hurt. You can observe that even V2 and V3 are also same. Irregular verbs are again of different kinds. The first kind is that three verb forms are same. Hurt, hurt, hurt. Hit, hit, hit. Let's look at the example. She cuts vegetables in the evening. I cut my finger on a glass yesterday. My mother has cut the apple into 4 pieces. So here you see in the first sentence, she cuts vegetables. Here cuts, the word cut is in V1. I cut my finger. This is in V2, that is in past tense, but still we are writing it as cut. We are not adding any suffix to it. My mother has cut the apple into 4 pieces. Here you see the past participle form of the verb cut. So here we see that 3 forms of the verbs are same. Now what is the other kind of irregular verb? Yes, here is the slide. Two of the forms are same. So any 2 forms will be the same, like V1 and V3, or sometimes V2 and V3. For example, sell, sold, sold. Pay, paid, paid. Leave, left, left. Here you see V2 and V3 are the same. In the next examples, become, became, become. Run, ran, run. Here you see V1 and V3 are same. So sometimes it can be any 2 forms are the same, either V2 and V3 or V1 and V3. Let's look at the examples. I usually buy my things at the bus stand. Janice bought a new watch last week. He has bought more than 5 pens. So in these examples, if you look at the verb buy, in the second sentence, bought, and then past participle form has bought. So here you did not add any suffix like ed or ied. And you can observe that V2 and V3 are the same, bought and then bought. Let's look at the other example. I become anxious if you are not on time. The situation became a problem for Bob. Jack has become an excellent doctor. So, here you see the word become. Become, became, and in the third example, become again. So, you see V1 and V3 are the same. We do not say Jack has became an excellent doctor. No, we do not use that. Jack has become. Even for the word come. Other word run, ran, and run. He runs a store. Okay, he ran a store last month. Or he has run a store. So, for some words, for some verbs, we use V1 and V3 as the same. So, these are also irregular verbs. This is one kind of irregular verbs. Now, what is the next one? All the 3 forms are different. So, sometimes we see V1 and V2 and V3. 3 forms will be different, like give, gave, given, freeze, froze, frozen, and then shake, shook, shaken. Sometimes we observe that even for the V2 form, people keep adding ed to it, shooked. For irregular verbs, we will not add any suffixes. We will either change the vowel in the verb. For example, shake, shook. We change the vowel O. Okay. Give, gave. We change the vowel I into A. So, we need not add any suffix to the irregular verbs. It will be wrong. Let's look at the example. She writes stories at home. She wrote stories at home. She has written stories at home. So, here if we observe the verb writes, in V2 form it is wrote, and in V3 it is written. All the 3 forms are different. So, in irregular verbs we see sometimes all the 3 verbs are the same. Sometimes all the 3 verb forms are different. Sometimes any of the 2 forms are the same, either V1 and V3 or V2 and V3. So far we have seen the division of main verbs, that is regular verbs and irregular verbs. Next. Okay. Here I have few riddles for you. Let's take a break from all these rules and all these division of the main verbs. Can you guess? I have few riddles for you. Hope you all like it because you keep playing it between the classes. Riddles and puzzles. Let's see if you can guess the answers for these. And remember one thing, that the answers for these riddles are irregular verbs. The moment I say irregular, it shouldn't be, you shouldn't add any suffix to it. Remember. I sat on the seat and pushed the pedals with my feet. I went from my house to the park. What did I do? Yes, you might have guessed it already. I rode a bicycle. What has pedals? It's a bicycle. So the answer is rode. Next. I got out a pen and paper. I thought about what to tell my friend. What did I do? Yes. I wrote a letter. The answer is wrote. Okay. Next. I took a seat and waited. I stayed on the chair until it was my turn. What did I do? It's very simple. I sat on the chair. So the answer is sat. Okay, let me just erase this. Okay, let's look at the last one. I was shorter last year. My clothes were smaller too. What did I do? Yes? Okay. I grew tall. So the answer is grew. Isn't it simple? Yes. So here we see rode, wrote, sat, grew. These are the answers. So let us try writing out the V1 and V3 forms. For rode it is ride and then ridden. For wrote it is write and then written. For sat it is sit and then sat. For grew it is, V1 is grow and then grown. So you can just observe the irregular verbs. How are they? Here you see all the three forms are different. Here also all the three forms are different. Here V2 and V3 are the same. And here all the three forms are again different. Hope you all enjoyed these riddles. Okay, let's continue with our next slide. Now verbs are also divided into finite and non-finite verbs. Now what are finite verbs? The verb that has a subject and shows tense is known as finite verb. If you just see the example, you'll understand it in a better way. She won the Nobel Prize. In the sentence, if you observe the verb won, it has a subject preceding to it, she. And it is showing a past tense. So here the verb won is a finite verb. Next example, just look at the picture. The thief escaped again. Here in this example you see that the verb escaped has a subject, that is the thief, and it is showing past tense. So here the verb escaped is a finite verb. So it's simple. When a verb has a subject before it and it is showing a tense, then it is called as finite verb. Now what is non-finite verb? Non-finite verb, can you guess? Yes, a verb which does not have any subject and it does not show any tense. So such a verb is called as non-finite verb. If you have seen regular and irregular verbs, depending on the past form and past participle form, we can just write a list of regular verbs and irregular verbs. But we do not have a specific list for finite and non-finite verbs. It is only based on the sentence we can say whether a verb is finite or non-finite, because depending on the sentence we see whether the sentence has a subject and whether the verb is showing a tense, and depending on that we can say whether it is a finite verb or a non-finite verb. So we do not have any list of finite and non-finite verbs. So remember this. Let us look at the examples. Leading the moment, she won the Nobel Prize. Leading. Here the verb leading is non-finite verb because it does not have any subject before the verb. And if you just observe the same sentence, the continuation of that, she won the Nobel Prize, there we can say won is a finite verb because it has a subject, she. Okay, the next example. Born in London, he became the citizen of UK. Here born does not have any subject preceding to it and it is not showing any tense. We do not know whether he is born or she is born. If it is given like that, then we can tell the tense of it, and also we have a subject there. But here born does not have any subject or it is not showing any tense, so it is a non-finite verb. You can see the next example. The sleeping cat is brown. Let me write the sentence. The sleeping cat is brown. Here if you observe the verb sleeping, it is a verb, but here it is acting like an adjective. Why? Because it is describing the noun cat. Any word which describes a noun is called as an adjective. You have already learned it in parts of speech session. So this is a describing word here, and it is describing cat, so it is acting like an adjective, though it is a verb, and it do not have any subject also. So for all these reasons, it is a non-finite verb. Okay, so hope you all understood what is a finite verb and what is a non-finite verb. Next, we have another division of verbs. Let us see what is that. Okay, transitive verb. So verbs are also divided into transitive and intransitive. Now what is a transitive verb? A verb which needs an object to complete its sense is called a transitive verb. Earlier we have seen that when a verb has a subject, it is called as a finite verb. So here when a verb has an object following it, then it is called as a transitive verb. Even for transitive verb also, depending on the sentence, we can say whether that particular verb is a transitive verb or an intransitive verb. The transitive verb shows its influence on the object. It denotes transfer of action from subject to object. So here if we see the example, Sam drinks milk. Here Sam is the doer of the action. Now you have already heard these phrases, doer of the action, receiver of the action, in active and passive voices. So the subject is the doer of the action and the object, milk, is the receiver of the action. And the action, drinking, the action drink, is transferred from the subject to the object. So for that reason we call drink as a transitive verb. Next, suppose if the verb answers the question what. Sam drinks what? Milk. So if it is answering the question what, then that is compulsorily an object. Let's see what is intransitive verb. A verb that doesn't need an object to complete its tense. So a verb which do not have an object following it is called an intransitive verb. It doesn't show any transfer of action. We do not have any object to receive the action. Just we can see the verb is just showing that a particular action is happening. Mona sang melodiously. Here we see the manner of the action, how it happened, melodiously. So Mona sang how melodiously. It is answering the question how, the manner of the action. So this is not an object here. So the verb sang is an intransitive verb. Suppose if I say Mona sang a song. Mona sang what? A song. Then we can say that the verb sang here, it becomes a transitive verb. Look at the second example. Children are playing in the garden. In this example, if I write the sentence in this way, children are playing what? Cricket. Children are playing cricket. If I write the sentence in that way, then the verb play becomes a transitive verb. But here it is just answering where, the question where. Children are playing where? In the garden. Tom goes where? To school. So these are not objects. Sometimes the students may get confused. What is an object? Object is a particular thing, and particularly here in transitive and intransitive, you remember that it answers the question what. So when a verb is followed by an object, then that verb is considered as a transitive verb. And if the verb is not followed by an object, then it is an intransitive verb. So far we have seen the division of main verbs, that main verbs are divided into regular and irregular verbs, and then what are finite and non-finite verbs, what is a transitive verb and what is an intransitive verb. So hope you all understood the division of primary verbs and helping verbs and then main verbs. Okay. Now it's time for you all to practice verbs. Okay. Let's practice verbs. The first question, write a description of a recipe of any dish which you like. Observe the verbs that are used. So when you write a description of a recipe, you use many verbs. For an idea, you can say mix, put, cut, etc. So just observe while writing what are the verbs that you are using in it. The next one, write a letter to your friend and tell her what you're doing at home during this lockdown period. So you can write a letter to your friend and tell her what you are doing the whole day. Since the time you wake up, I'm watching TSAT and I'm doing my homework, all the things which you do, and then just observe the verbs which you are using. So in this way you practice more verbs and also concentrate on the helping verbs, which are very important not only in writing but they also help you all to speak very good English. So hope you all like the session, and I thank our society for giving me such a wonderful opportunity. Thank you.